I was trying to put structure and put some order in my life. I was saying, okay, I need to abandon Greece. The situation here is, it's literally shitty. Banks are closed. People are young people are, half of them are unemployed. My friends are losing their jobs. My family is bleeding financially. What are we doing here? I insisted staying in Greece, but practically this didn't make any sense. And I was really struggling inside. Okay, let's try to rationalize it. Let's try to make like a benchmarking and what's the best option. I was looking for a reasoning and rational into everything. But on the other hand, somehow I was really appealed to this kind of scenes. I think it was something inherent, coming from really inside. And for some reason, for 2-3 years of my life, I was really obsessed setting this kind of stuff. My eye was going right on these kind of frames and compositions.
We have a great show for you today. And I want to go ahead, without further ado, and welcome Marinos to the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, Patrick. I appreciate it a lot. And it's a great pleasure for being here. I'm a huge fan of Urbanatica, and it's always a pleasure contributing to this.
It's awesome. I've been looking at your work and diving into the different projects, and I was very, very excited about this show. You were one of the conversations we had at the coffee shop where we were thinking about guests for the show, and I remember looking at your images, and I was it was just refreshing, and I really enjoyed the series that you do. And so we have 3 that we're going to take a look at today, which I'm really excited about. But before we do, for those who don't know you, would you just take us into who you are, where you come from, and all of that?
Okay, yeah, that's a good start. So originally I come from Greece. I grew up in an island in the southern of Greece called Crete, quite large island and very touristic. Around 17 years old, I moved to the northern part of Greece to study. And I didn't study photography or fine arts or visual arts in the very beginning. So I studied first. I studied in the major of economic and political sciences. Then I continued in a master in finance and business administration. And eventually I ended up in IT major and domain. I studied information systems. And after all this, let's say, journey of doing the master to, let's say, compete in the local market, because Greek labor market is quite tough. Then I said, okay, what am I doing next? And I said, okay, I have 2 masters. Let's do a third one. So that was the let's say, the most reasonable thing to me. And I enrolled. I started enrolling in another master, which is one of the must-have. At some point, in the very beginning of the master, was like an industrial design. My girlfriend back then, now my wife now, she told me, okay, but why don't you do something that will make you happy? You always invest on building your professional career. I was working back then as a market intelligence analyst, and she told me, why? Yeah, just do something that you will make you happy, eventually. And somehow discussing with a couple of friends, I said, okay, let's do photography. And I started calling all like the schools, the local schools in the city of Thessaloniki, where I was my base. And I took the 21 steps of Stereosis Photography School, where I'm hosted today. And there was like a connection with the space. I felt very welcome, and I realized that a whole new world is opening, that of the photography. So I started studying here for 4 years. I started from the very initial steps, like darkroom and with the black and white photography, 35 millimeters negative film. And that became a passion. I became really obsessed with photography. This happened around 2011, I would say, something like that. Of course, I was shooting. I was I had an engagement with photography since I came here to study. But I was like, let's say, touristic photography, or I was. I thought I was doing, let's say, fine art photography. Actually, I was doing nonsense, to be honest. So, because I find here some of my negatives like 20, 25 years ago. I said, okay, what am I doing here? But so I feel very lucky that I found the right place and the right people for me to show me a whole new world that I didn't know exists. Nowadays, I'm not a full-time artist or photographer. I have, I would say, a decent, not very interesting life. I'm married with 2 kids. I live in the Netherlands the past 7 years, and I have a quite demanding normal job. I work in the domain of the cybersecurity as a product manager. So I'm managing like a couple of teams of software engineers and designers. And it's less interesting than it sounds. So, and on parallel, I have found my balance factor, which is contemporary fine art photography. I
think that that word balance factor, I think is really
it's
interesting.
My way out,
because
I'm thinking, because when I decided to move to the Netherlands from Greece back in 2017, I had in the back of my mind, what if I stop doing the job I'm doing, and become like a full-time artist or photographer, go to residencies, go to a fine art school, to really pursue this dream of the art world. And I realized that I wouldn't be genuinely happy, because then again, the equilibrium, wouldn't be perfect. Again, it would be off balance, but from the other side, So I feel that I need both in my life, I need the stability and, let's say, the flatness of a normal life. It's just like 9-to-5er, and I'm not actually 9-to-5er. I work more than that, but I mean like a normal job.
Cybersecurity never stops. Yeah, it never stops. So
Never
no, it doesn't. It's one of those fields. I
work with 4 different time zones, so it really never stops. But I feel that let's say the constraint of the time and the capacity somehow helps to find photography space and time in this routine, So
Yeah.
there's limited time, and I know that this time is dedicated to do this thing that I really love, and it's my obsession and my passion.
I'm kind of curious a little bit about you as a young person. Were you into art? Were you creative, or what were you like?
Yeah, I think I always was, creative, trying things in my, like, since I was a child. I think what I was missing is that, let's say, commitment and dedication. So I was trying from stuff like wood carving and I think around in my puberty I started painting. But, I don't think I ever took it very seriously. Always there was something, I remember myself doing stuff,
Yeah.
even in the home, at the home, repairing stuff in a creative way always. Yeah, I always, remember being somehow creative and try to do stuff, but I think I never found what really made me passionate about it. And photography, maybe it was also about timing,
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, I found I have a very similar story. Like, I was very creative as a young person, and then somewhere along the way, I just walked away from it, and I got into business school, and I became a business person and a salesperson, and then one day a camera found my way, and I remembered. It was almost like Peter Pan. He remembers that movie, with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Rest his soul. He's wonderful. But that where he remembers who he is, And then all of a sudden the camera just popped out at me, and then I found myself back in it. And so it was it sounds similar. And I relate to your story a lot. So did you follow art, as a professional? Were you always watching it or inspired by anybody?
Back then, you mean before I discovered photography?
Just in general, was it in the periphery? Was it something that was, always there?
Yeah, I always loved cinematography. I always loved.
Oh yeah, same.
Films, and especially
Same.
European independent film scene. So
Sure.
And was like also, there are a couple of very good film festivals here in the city, with the international festival. So that helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
I had the luxury to watch the filmography of great cinematographers. So that was an inspiration, and it relates a lot. I think cinema filmography really relates to photography. I think there are, let's say, relative mediums or genres of art.
I'm curious. You said you were taking early photos, and I'm curious, like, when you started were you doing photography before you were like, I'm going to go to school for this, or did you go to school and you were like, I kind of have this itch and I want to go explore this, and then you found, oh wow, which one was that for you? Was it something that was a part of you already, and then you kind of expanded it? Like, explain that. I'm kind of curious.
Okay. I think I have a similar story with yours. Like, I found, like, I have an aunt. She studied photography in London. She came back and she gave me she was developing films in her toilet. I found this really awkward, but also very fascinating. So for a couple of summers, she gave me, let's say, a few lessons. How can I develop my own films in just, in a black roll box and like in the toilet. And she gave me also a Nikon I don't know, FM1, something like that. I cannot recall exactly the model. A very solid and heavy Nikon, 35 millimeters, like an SLR.
Yeah.
And I started shooting black and white film. And I think I produced some of the crappiest photos in the world photography history. And so at some point I abandoned it. As I said, I was not very dedicated to what I was doing. So after 3-4 years, I stopped shooting. Then when I came here in Stereosis Photography School, I started again, going really deep into this, started shooting again. And I think also for the first 1.5 years, I will also keep doing crappy photos. Crappy meaning not technically, I think technically, technique is not, let's say, photography is not a hard medium to master, but but I mean, I don't want to recall when I was shooting, because I still have the folders from the school. I think for the first 3 semesters, it's like a shame, but it's okay. Then there was a turning point. It's like having a switcher, and it's like, I don't know, like one day you make a photograph that is different from what you used to do. You like it, 100%. You don't know why.
Yeah.
You bring it on the table, you print it, you bring it on the table, and there's started, being a discussion, and you understand that, okay, something different is going on here, There's a discussion of this photo. There's narrative. There is people see different things, and you realize that, okay, there is like what I used to do, like maybe in the street, an old lady with a red scarf, and on the background is a red door, and you thought that you did like an amazing photo, but eventually it's a bullshit, and. But then you make one photo that become, I cannot say good photo or bad photo. It's interesting or not interesting,
Yeah.
And then it's like, it was like a switcher, I around like after 13-14 months here, I started realizing what is contemporary fine art photography.
I was looking for that early spark, and you told me it. The ant story. That I think that is a wonderful. I actually had very similar, and I didn't realize that I was so fascinated by it until later. And it sounds like you had a very similar path, and so I'm relating to you a lot, in particular your origin story, and I think it's really interesting. So it's. Once you start making that switch, I think there's what I have found is that we usually have these figures, these people that come into our world that are very influential on us. It could be an artist, it could be a mentor, it could be a teacher. Was anybody like that important to you that kind of helped you kind of find your way there?
Yeah. I think there are some people that played a crucial role on crafting my personal language and my expression in photography. First of all, this ant played a critical role on the formulation of paradising, because she saw. I sent her. We will talk about it when we present paradising, but. Let's say she saw something that I couldn't see. I was so deep into it. But I think one of the most influential persons in my photographic career so far was my very first teacher in the school. Was also a very good friend, Cosmas Pavlidis, and he's always my go-to person for feedback. And I don't know, I always trust his opinion a lot, and I think he's very influential. He was very influential, and he played a crucial role on, let's say, what I have done so far. And also in this, as I said, the third semester in the school, there back then was a teacher called Leah. Somehow we developed like a very special language, and she helped me a lot to understand, like to see the other side of photography. So those kind of persons really influenced my expression on the photography language.
When you say the other side of photography, what are you talking about?
Okay. I cannot describe it easily with words, but I can make like a metaphor. You know,
Sure,
our
please.
moms,
Yeah.
our moms, you know, I think they're cooking, most of the moms, we believe that they're cooking in a great way, you know. They make delicious dishes, and then you go to a 2-star Michelin restaurant and you realize that it's okay. The food at home is good. The mama food is good, but there is something different. There's another world, which is art,
Yeah.
So I think it's the same with photography. Like anyone can produce photos, especially nowadays. Everyone has a mobile or a digital camera, can produce photos. But for me, what is important is to not stand to the one single photo. I strongly believe to the power of narrative. I believe in storytelling, and I think this world I'm talking about, it's, let's say, a composition of photos that they are beyond like good photos that are technically produced in a good way, or they are they can be impressive, or so it's another world that, let's say, speaks another language. I cannot really describe it. But of course we can talk about names that we like, and favorite photographers that they do this, or influences. But yeah, I don't want to do this now. But I think you understand.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
that the metaphor, I always use the metaphor for the food. It's I think it's
it makes sense. Especially when you travel, you start to kind of understand that. I will just say pasta in Italy is way different than what I grew up with. So like it's just a different world. It's a different language. A lot of people have their own languages. I was just curious because you had a teacher kind of open that up for you, I thought that was really cool. And these little keys or things that we get as we go along our journey, and people give us these little gifts, and they open up different paths for us. And a lot of times it's a mental connection, that we have that changes the course of how we do something. And I'm always curious about that. Your subject matter is interesting, and what you focus on. And when you made that shift, and you started to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit of photography, you bring up this word absurd a lot. And you talk about noticing the absurd, and I'm curious what that is about. Like maybe you can define what you mean by absurd, and then talk about why you're so interested in it.
I have I strongly appeal to things that maybe some people call them nonsense, or they let's try to be more politically correct. Let's say they do not make practical sense.
Sure.
I always, and usually I notice that there, manifestations of life or species that most of the people will, just ignore or neglect, and somehow my eyes are focused on this kind of scenes of paradox, of absurdism. So yeah, I don't know why it happens. Maybe it's a good subject of discussion with my therapist, like why my eyes go. But I think I'm appealed to this kind of scenes and matters because as a person, as a personality, I like sarcasm, I like irony, and I can find those qualities in absurdism. The funny thing is that what is, let's say, characterized as absurd for, let's say, most of the people, for me, they're really, I'm attracted and I find them really, really impressive and interesting, and they can really make my day, these kind of things. And, you know, if you're a writer, you add some very personal aspects in the way you write, for example. I think the qualities of sarcasm, irony, and absurdism, let's say it's genuinely incorporated in my own personal photographic language. For example, in Paradise Scene, I'm photographing the crisis in Greece, like the majority of the Greek photographers used to do in 2010, 11, 12, because that was the situation here, like massive economic recession. But I did it incorporating this kind of elements. So yeah, so somehow it's embodied in this language. So yeah,
I think it's wonderful. When I look through your images, I think I said something to you when we first started talking that when I look at your work, I giggle a little bit, but I also go, he's right. So, and you have this really interesting eye for it. And, you might be able to answer this, you might not be able to, but what do you think these absurdities and stuff say about us, do you think? Just your own personal theory. We're not going to write it down and put it in a textbook, but what do you think it says about us?
That's an interesting question. And I think that in a world, that we discuss a lot about common sense, and also, very lately about political correctness, I think it reveals who we actually are as humanity, as human beings. And eventually, it's about, for me, it's questioning what is common sense, because there's a lot of discussion about common sense, and for me, it's like absurdism is maybe it's the answer in all these new situations, looking always for common sense. And what is for example, if I want to relate with my personal life, I think I write this also in my statement for the World Goose Chase. I did everything perfect, following the guidebook of the Western modern norm. I did everything perfect, I studied, I made a family, I found a decent job, about the car and the house, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But I mean, eventually, what does it matter, So
Yeah.
based on those norms, so I think all these absurd manifestations, it's, about challenging all these norms, or what is expected, what is common sense, and what is absurd, what's not. Who defines what is absurd? Bottom line.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's you can find these things almost everywhere, and I used to pay attention to it too. And you would ask people about some of the stuff, and I can't wait to get to your images. And I think we're doing a great job for our listeners teasing what we're about to see. But I would ask people about this stuff, and they say it's cool, isn't it? Or it's my art, or it's my expression, and it's interesting that you look at these things, and I think I think photographers have a great way of turning their attention to things that some people would look at, maybe not even look at, and put them together in a series that makes you ask a question like I just asked, is what do you think it says about us? And I think you really tapped into something there. A lot of us follow a particular model. I did it. I went and got into business, followed the model, but when you get there and you're in those seats and you're in that box office, doing reporting in and doing all that stuff, you can't help but go, is this it? And then somebody's response to that sometimes, and there's an image that you have with rope lights around a hanging object. I'm not going to get there yet. Is to do something absurd, is to kind of take their space and make it something or whatever. And I think it's fascinating. But what I like about what you do is you don't only do that. You also are thinking about deeper questions. You are going even further, which I really enjoy. And so this is my last question before we jump into your work. Do you use photography to kind of think about things, or how do you use photography for yourself? What is it for you?
Yeah. First of all, I want to clarify that I'm doing photography primarily for myself. Okay.
100%.
It's not my. No, I don't think that, especially nowadays, I don't think that this is guaranteed. We're in a really fast-moving, fast-paced world, and with the social media. So I think, let's say, the motive now, the many people they have the motive just to show fast food photography. So it's not necessary that this applies to everyone. That I mean, I will explain also my personal process, the way I work, because I'm very slow, I would say, at least for the modern standards. But to answer your question, I do this primarily for myself, okay? And I always work on subjects that somehow they have they're sourced by my personal experiences and let's say the different phases of my life, So, for example, for the most recent project, I think we will show also some photos. The project's about it's about a story about a migration story, and it has to do with the fact I'm obviously influenced by the fact that I moved to a completely new country, leaving behind family, friends, being alone in a completely new place, and I was looking a way to redefine my identity, to feel I belong somewhere again. And if we go back to my very first project, like Paradise Scene, it's like all my childhood memories are in there, and I will explain why. So for me, it's, maybe a writer would like consider every project, every series like a book. So for me, I'm not good in writing. So I photograph. I express myself through photography. So for me, it's like every project is my personal storytelling, and somehow it aligns with a milestone in my personal life,
Yeah. I can't help but think about what you said about finding that balance. It's about that balance between, the everyday and, believe it or not, once you find that balance, it improves everything. Makes you a better employee, better at business, but it also makes you better at what you're doing, is because you're whole, you're full. And I love that. And so I think this is a great opportunity to jump into your first series. We can jump into Paradise Inn to begin, and we'll kind of kick it off from there.
Perfect. So the Paradise Inn, let's say it's my very first long-term project. It lasted from 2012 until 2016. I want to put a disclaimer here. I never consider any of my projects done. I keep work. I like putting, some full stops, or let's say make some pauses. But as I explained to you, it's based on memories, experiences, and this, it's not something that you just erase, So even if for example, a full stop for this project, I need to put a full stop and move on, was the publication of the book. I will talk about it. But so this project, let's say the main body of work that I will show here, has been produced between 2012 and 2016, I think, in total 5 years. That's on average, I would say, the average time frame that I work for a project. 3, 4, 5, 6 years, cannot be less than 3 years, because there is a lot of thinking behind it. There is research, and somehow I think there are moments that you start from A, and at some point you need to pivot and go to C or to E or to the branch, So, but there's always an initial idea behind every series, and of course this evolves as long as the projects, the production progresses. So about Paradise Inn, precisely, it originates from my childhood memories. As I said at the beginning, I grew up in Crete, one of the most touristic places in Europe. It's a very popular destination especially for Northern European people, like Germans, Dutch people, British, Irish, Scandinavians. So I grew up in a fish village called Ayepelaye, and I experienced the whole transformation of this place from a humble village to a resort, let's say a large amusement park, just for pleasing the people coming from foreign countries as tourists, to like to experience, to live the Greek myth, let's say. So, and the title of Paradise Inn, when I was like 11, 12 years old, I started going out with my elder cousins, and there was a disco in the middle of the village on the beach called Paradise, and that was, let's say, the place to be of this this period. And let's say I stole the title from this disco because also many of those photos have been shot there and around the area in Ayia. Of course, it's not limited there. It's widespread. The project has been shot between Crete and Chalkidiki, which is another very popular touristic destination, mostly for Balkan people in northern Greece. I need to travel a lot because I was living in Thessaloniki. So I used to travel back in my birthplace in Crete or in Chalkidiki to produce this series. So this project deals with the mass tourism and the impact on the place of my childhood memories, mostly, how it influences the identity, the land, the intrusion in the land, the environment, the people, the economic growth, the society, the falsification of the symbols, So this is mostly about. I don't know if you have any questions about that, or otherwise.
One of the. Let's start taking a look. But it's also interesting that you talk about. It's just kind of a village. It was in a fishing village, and then you kind of witnessed it change, and you started to. I can imagine too that you start seeing these signs go up, and they're in a different language. They're like Star Beach. It's English, and
always. That's the most popular place. If you're a British, you must be there. It's in here.
And then it's just striking. You're like, I see in one of the later images, I see this sign that says snack bar, and I'm like, but you're in Greece, like. What is it? So I bet that's fascinating to watch and to evolve. So take us through a couple of them, and let's take a look.
Yeah. So, for example, Star Beach is one of the most popular, let's say, amusement parks in Herzonissos, in one of the popular places of Crete. And I have shot this specific point. I went there like in total 5 times. So I have this photo with different symbols and typography in 3-4 different photos. I think I have more Star Beach in this selection. Yeah, that photo. I like this photo. I found this cocktail, which is called, it's like very 80s, 90s cocktail. They used to call it like, they sell it like Blue Lagoon, which is like, it reminds like Iceland, but then there's the Finnish flag, and it was very interesting the fact that I shot this photo in the summer, that there was like crucial these Eurogroup meetings about kicking Greece out of European Union, or let's keep Greece in European Union. And I remember vividly that Finland was like really strong place. Okay, let's kick them out. And I found this. I think this is the flag of Finland. And that was I don't know. It was like a coincidence, but it was really, really interesting. I like it. I also like this.
Here's the irony. Yeah.
And also I love this
irony
plastic,
right in your face, right here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a plastic glass. It keeps them, getting drunk down there. They want plastic, so.
I don't see these
fascinating,
like the Little Mermaid, and I remember when I was like a kid, when I was like 5-6 years old. Every morning in the summer, I was going on the beach, digging the sand to find plastic mermaids and plastic monkeys that were They have thrown them away from the cocktails they were holding and dancing on the beach. So as a kid, I was collecting from the sand plastic mermaids and monkeys. So, yeah. That's another photo I really love. I have one photo of mine in my house in the Netherlands, and it's this one. I love it. It's very simple, but I like the colors.
You have one photo out of all the things you've done. The one photo is this one. I
don't like my artwork in my home. I like having from.
I have all my stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I could give you one of mine, so you have also one of mine. But
well, that'd be great. Thank you. What an honor. But why this one? Why? Tell me. Yeah.
I like, first of all, I like the colors. For me, Greek summer is always, a very strong memory is the watermelon, this deep red watermelon, and also these blue tiles, the bottom of the pool. It just brings memories.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like it. I cannot really explain it. Technically, it's a bad photo. It's not, let's say, it's not the perspective I used to take, but somehow, it's. I feel it very, very close to myself.
Well, you're reflecting on you're reflecting on something that's really interesting. A changing town around you, this separateness, and what's interesting is, yes, technically, it might not be executed 100% the best, but it actually carries a kind of a metaphor with it. You're flipping the foreground. A lot of times the background is the brightest, and you're more exposed, and there's a most touristy photos are during the sunshine too, and this looks like it's taken at night. And so you're like literally flipping this on us. And not only with the image itself, the way it was shot, but also taking them at night, not necessarily at the things that people would want to take a photo of at night. Usually you want those lights at the bar, or the city,
I always like moving and shooting in the background. So let's say when there is a party, a beach party, I'm always behind the party, or I'm going after the party. So, for example, this photo is right after the party. Or if I go back to this very first photo of Star Beach, everyone thinks that this is snow, but actually it's a foam that left after a crazy foam party. So I was expecting maybe, I think for this photo, couple of hours. I was strolling around, waiting for people to go away, drunk people to go and sleep. So I just wanted. Exactly.
I was going to ask you. So I was like, that looks like snow, but it doesn't look like snow either.
No, it's a foam.
Also, because
watermelon. I was waiting, I think, 3-4 minutes. The watermelon was moving slowly to come, at this point. So I had the composition I wanted. So just steady, patient, waiting for the watermelon to move from the low stream, of the pool.
Yeah. Yeah, take us through. Keep taking us through. These are great.
Yeah. That's another photo that I like the irony here. I think it's a 4-star hotel in the same Fields Village. First of all, those statues are not even Greek. I think they're Roman. I think this curly hair is definitely not Greek. Huh? You can see also I'm almost bald. So the Romans have curly hair. They have nice hair. Okay, they have nice hair. Okay, but also the how do you call that? The sweep?
It is. It's the pan. It's like you have a broom and then the pan, but this is
yeah, like the broom. Yeah, exactly. So I found this very very interesting, and that's one of the photos that one of the very last that I shot for the project. Here's bar. This is literally in the middle of nowhere. So there's only like a bar, which, let's say, it's not the most fascinating place to be. You can also see, the aesthetic of the sign. It's also, reflects the aesthetic of the bar. So I think this describes a lot Greece, especially back in 90s. Like, okay, I will do something. I don't care if it's, if it looks ugly, or I'm not gonna spend the money. I will just buy. I found this sign. I will buy a marker and some paint, and I will do this. That's somehow reflects the mentality of Greek people, especially back in 90s. So
honestly, that's the kind of place I would go. I would go check it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of fascinating.
It's interesting. I also like this kind of underground. Let's call them places for outcasts. Or
yeah. We God, what do we call them? Hole in the walls. That's what we call them. Hole in the wall bars.
Yeah.
Out in the country, that's what we would say. But dive bars is the other word. Yeah, I think that's the other one.
Yeah. This is one of my favorites. One of
same. When I saw this one, I loved the mirror effect in the water, and then the green that mirrors the green above from the landscape. I was just this one. I was out of the series. This one was magic to me. If one were to show up in the mail, if one were to show up in the mail, this would be the one. But I'm. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. What were you looking at here?
Look here. That's very strange. This is one. I don't know why, but it's one of my best setting. Let's say maybe it's also more that can be digested more easily. I don't know. It's beautiful. Huh? It's not just interesting. It's also beautiful. The colors and the forms. But here I'm in another touristic area in Crete, near Heraklion. It's very nearby the village, which is full of hotels. I always I was shooting mostly out of season, so this is before the maintenance and the opening of the hotels for the summer season. And it's one of the pictures that you just violate the entrance of a hotel. You just go in, you see, okay, you stand in front of this composition. You make a shot and you leave, and you have one good photo. And it's I think it's that's very important. That also reflects the way I photograph, especially when I was using my Mamiya 7. I was shooting until very recently. I was shooting with Mamiya 7 6x7 format, medium format.
Yeah.
Like this monster with a tripod, blah blah blah. So you go there. You make a shot. You have only 12 shots in the roll of the film. You make one shot. You know what you get, and then you go back and you say okay. And so you try to sleep, but you cannot sleep because okay, I have this photo in my mind. It's still in the film. I haven't seen it. And you try to reproduce it in your memory,
When you look back at this series, you're kind of seeing the I think you're commenting on the response of the locals in a lot of ways to the people, in the community and that are trying to take advantage of the tourist boom and so on. And you're seeing this kind of thrown together kind of, we see this trend, so let's get on it, kind of. That's what it feels like that you're looking at in some ways. When you look at like a dirty pool like this, how does this fit in the series?
Yeah. What I was really thinking when I was working on this project is that actually the people, let's say, causing a situation like this, as you mentioned, like this dirty pool, or or like the pollution or the violation of the land, the intrusion in the land, all this, let's say, kitsch aesthetic. Actually, the same people are the ones who need to tolerate this situation the rest 8-9 months of the year, because the touristic period lasts for 3-4 months. The high season is August, after September. And I always, I was wondering, okay, you do something that you need to suffer the 60% of your lifetime, So that's very, from the sociology side of things, that's really, really interesting,
That's what you're looking at.
And of course, with you as
it's that 66. It's that off season. It's that what becomes of these playgrounds when
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense.
Well, would chase. Okay. That's another star beach. Exactly the same point, if you notice, but another year, I think I have three or four. This photo is from the disco I mentioned, like Paradise, This is the disco Paradise, with statues, and there is an ancient Greek. And that's where I borrowed, or I stole the name of the project, because I saw a pattern. When I was falling on spaces with a name Paradise or Heaven. So which is also very sarcastic and about this one. For this photo, you will allow me just for 1 minute to say, since this project also had the intention to address the violation of on the land, the intrusion on the land. So in this specific location, this has been photographed like 8 years ago, but last October, a massive storm happened in the fish village and killing 2 people exactly in this place. So this, I would say now, 7-8 years later, something that, let's say, it belongs to the past, somehow it becomes current again. So for me that was really strong, very strong moment. I have the picture from the media, from the TV show showing the smashed car from the storm, and exactly the same photo. Demonstrating the same. For me, that's really strong, and that's the power of photography as also documenting medium.
Yeah, and the other part to it is they're moving into this place to take advantage of a certain economic situation, but at the exact same time, it's going to be dangerous because you're intruding further and further and further towards the beach line, and when storms come, you really you put yourself at risk. And especially if you're living there and you're only living on 33%, you're probably there all the time, so it's fascinating. It's a fascinating connection.
Yeah, they build on a river. They built on a river. Okay. And the river, okay, maybe it's not, you cannot see the river for 80, 90, 100 years, but one day the river will come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, nature, nature takes revenge,
Well, nature doesn't care about us and our plans. Yeah, it just does what it does. And it's a fascinating thing. And then these, this is that image I was talking about with the snack bar. I thought was really interesting. It was striking. It stood out to me. And you turned this into a book.
Correct. So the book was published back in 2017 by Void, which is an independent publication house based in Athens, and also I think one of the top at this moment in independent publishing scene for photo books. Yeah, I collaborated with 3 co-founders like Mr. Stu, Silvia Sahini, and the amazing designer Ezra Lineo. And we produced this object, which is it went sold out very quickly. And I find it I find the design and the concept very smart. We worked together with 3 people I mentioned on it, and we produced something that let's say I'm quite proud of it. So
so no one can get a copy of this.
No, unfortunately,
it's completely gone. Now
it's completely gone. I have 3 for my personal. Yeah, I don't think you can find, because maybe I don't know, because several people are still contacting me and the public, and in the publication house for copies. There's still strong interest, even for a photo biennale here now in Thessaloniki that they exhibited. It was one of the selected photo books. I needed to borrow one from the private collection of Stereosis. So I have only 3 copies for my personal archive, and that's it. And the agreement with Void is to not make a reprinting. That's it. Maybe I will publish it again, but in a different format, a different editing, and maybe different concept, and enriched material. Yeah.
I love the concept. I like the it's like a layout. It spreads out. I think it's really, really interesting. Well, that gives me a question here. Did you have an idea for the design, or did you work with the designer and you kind of worked back and forth? How was that?
That's an interesting question. So the design completely belongs to the crew of Void. Joao Lineu is one of the most renowned and respected photo book designers at this moment. So he has worked with Antoine Dagata and Ackerman and many other, great photographers. The concept came naturally. I think, in discussions, I dropped an idea about, I said, why not do something like TripAdvisor in photo book? And then the gals in Void, I think they worked hard and they came up with a complete idea in concept. So the concept and the design belongs to Void, and I feel blessed collaborating with them. Like, I think they digged and revealed new layers of the project. They really
that's awesome.
That's also, I think, the added value, also collaborating with an experienced publication house rather than going for a self-publication. I think they can bring a lot of
It's
value on the table.
and it's funny. We're so close to the images that we take and the production of those images that we take. Sometimes the presentation takes a good, talented. I've heard this many times actually from photographers working with a good editor and a good book producer. The other thing is a great curator, someone that also works in a gallery space, and they see your work in space, and that is another thing I hear a lot. So
in the editing of the photos of the book, as I said, always the validation pass through. Also, with my collaboration with Cosmas, I mentioned in the very beginning. So we reviewed the selected photos, and I think also at the very end we kicked out some of that because as a philosophy, I have that it's essential for a photographer the sentimental disconnection from the artwork, from the photos. And you empower a project not only by adding, but also by removing material.
True.
Sometimes it's hard,
this is true. It's very true.
So we remove the several photos,
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things you learn in art school is to edit down. So you always want to include images, but sometimes it just doesn't serve the point of the project. But talk to me about your next project. This one was a very interesting one. We kind of talked a little bit about it when we talked about your idea of the absurd, and so I referenced an image from this series that really stood out to me. So talk to me about this project, and we'll slide into that next one now.
Let's start from the title. Wild Goose Chase. I think that's also reflects what we're gonna reflects also what the project is about. Wild Goose Chase is a phrase that first time was appeared in I think Hamlet of William Shakespeare, describing a situation that it's like chasing or pursuing things that they do not exist. You doubt about their existence. It's almost impossible. They're not tangible, and it's almost impossible to experience. So I borrowed the title from this text of Shakespeare, and it's actually a project drilling down, really diving into absurdism and talking about scenes of ordinary life that they do not make sense, let's say. Or you try to understand what's going on, you try to rationalize. And why? Now you will wonder why I wanted, to work on something like that.
We talked about it earlier. We talked about it earlier. Yeah.
This came in another, let's say, phase of my life where I was really doubting about my decisions, and I was trying to rationalize everything. I was trying to put structure and put some order in my life. I was saying, okay, I need to abandon Greece. The situation here is, it's literally shitty. Banks are closed. People are young people half of them are unemployed. My friends are losing their jobs. My family is bleeding financially. What are we doing here? I insisted staying in Greece, but practically this didn't make any sense. And I was really struggling inside. Okay, let's try to rationalize it. Let's try to make like a benchmarking and what's the best option, I was looking for a reasoning and rational into everything. But on the other hand, somehow I was really appealed to this kind of scenes, I think it was something inherent, coming from really inside. And for some reason, for 2-3 years of my life, I was really obsessed sitting this kind of stuff. My eye was going right on this kind of frames and compositions.
That creates a lot of context. That creates a lot of depth. Do you think when you look back at that time and you were talking about, half of your friends were unemployed, they're losing their jobs, did you see an absurdity in all of that? Like the absurdity of larger, you know what I mean? And so in a lot of ways, this is all absurd. We're all crazy. It's like, is this kind of like what you were going through? I'm trying to make a connection here and let me know if I'm there.
Yeah. I think you are really to the point. I cannot easily describe the situation we experienced between 2012 and 2017 in this country.
Yeah.
Like it's, I think you can leave this kind of things only in a matrix. All the people in Greece, and believe me, it's not, it's not really funny,
Yeah.
I cannot easily, if you do not experience it, you don't understand what we're talking about. And I think the people, literally all the people, they're in a madness, they're walking on the street and they were talking on the air. Like, people were lost. People were literally lost. Absurdity everywhere. You didn't know if you have to pay your rent next day. You didn't know if the banks will be open. You didn't know if the cash machine is going to have money. You didn't know if you're going to... where you're going to sleep. Are you going to sleep? You're 40 years old, but you're going to sleep with your parents. You're going to sleep with a friend. You're going to sleep with your sister. Like, it's a crazy situation. And I think that this really influenced me, this very specific period in my life. I was more or less in the same mode. And I think it really relates. I think your comment is really to the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Take us through a few of them. Take us through a few of them and kind of talk about what you're looking at, and we'll kind of take a look.
They need, you really need to stand and analyze and understand, why is this like that? Why I see, for example, a Russian astronaut in Greece, like praised in Greece. We don't even have a history in the space industry, or like, why is that? Or like, what this course is doing here? Is it real? Is it fake? What are the souls behind it? What is this wall? Why is it standing like that in the face on the wooden wall? Yeah, same here. Like, of course, there's always an explanation, but I mean, what I also like is I don't like dictating what I'm talking about. I always like allowing the people to read the photos, the photographs, but also, what they own think. They can translate my work just like they want. I'm not a documentary photographer. I'm not documenting anything, and I don't think that also the world expects me to document something.
Yeah,
I just express myself, but also I think it's very democratic that every person, every individual that let's say dives into my work to make his own interpretation and translation of my work, and it's completely fine. That also,
let's go back to that last one.
Yeah.
Out of the series, this one and the horse stood out to me, and I really enjoy how level the photo is. You perfectly frame the window, and then this out of balance table that seems to be set up for tea or some kind of situation, or it could also be a watering pot for the plants. It just seems like the food for the plants. It's an interesting composition. Not to mention the color is great, pink against green. I really really like. But this one, just when you talk about what you said before, this kind of encapsulates, what your inspiration for it. And an unbalanced table doesn't make sense. Everything rolls off. Like, what's
Yeah,
going
and
on?
I'm also, I have my, let's say, my own very personal issues as well. I
Yeah,
want everything.
yeah,
So what you see in my photos reflects also, how I am as a person. I want everything to
yeah,
be that direct and straight and level. Um,
yeah. And
so
naturally, but
in this photo, believe me, I tried really hard to level the table. Really,
you did. Was it worse? What?
It was much worse. Yeah, it was much worse.
Oh, you should have made it
So
worse. I would have loved it. But even the subtle slant on it is still strong. So like it's really interesting. I really liked this one out of them. I like that depth that it has. And the other one, when we looked at the horse, when I see horses, I spent a lot of time around horses growing up, and to see a horse with his head in the corner. When you look at a horse, they're almost pure potential. They're pure potential, and they're powerful, and they are strong. And to see one with his head up against the wall means that potential is it's blocked. And and here with the braids too, it's cared for. It's paid attention to, but at the end of the day, its pure potential is completely gone. This as a metaphor is amazing. And a horse indoors. What's that?
Do you make the relation between what you said about the horse, that it's blocked, with the situation I described you?
Absolutely.
Or this area?
It's when you said that, like a lot of these images started to make sense to me. I already had the metaphor before, because like I loved horses growing up. I did a little riding, and that sounds cliche because I'm from Texas, but I did English riding actually. I didn't do Western, but it's so funny. I know, but it's just interesting to kind of think in. And at first, it almost doesn't seem like it's real, like this is a real horse, right? Alive.
That's a real horse, and that's one of the most common questions I get when I saw the whole series. If some things are real or they're like, if I made them, that's another question. Usual question is, if I put them there like props, which is never the case in my photography. It's not that I'm not directing my photos. I choose the composition. Maybe I will, but I'm not gonna take a horse and put it against the wall. It's like I'm not gonna manipulate.
Try to see if you can. Yeah,
I don't
see if you can get a horse to do that. I'd be impressed. No, they do that on their own.
But, in Greece, we have only donkeys. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It's these I think they encompass the backstory on it, and I can kind of see your eye, and I know you're letting me interpret it, so I'm going to jump in, and so it's quite interesting. I remember reading about what was going on in Greece at that time. And you're exactly right. Like we had no idea what it's going through, and to hear kind of your perspective as someone that was there and kind of living that situation, it creates, and then the body of work that comes from it is quite powerful, and it's quite interesting. So like I quite enjoy this one for sure. I do.
I'm glad. Thanks a lot.
Wild Goose Chase. It kind of reminds me of the name. It's all connecting. I'm sure my viewers are too. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. The one with the marbles. Yeah. That was also on the blinds of a TP bookshop in Brussels for a while, for a period. One of my favorites.
This one.
Yeah, the car, the Audi.
Yeah,
Audi. It's an Audi. A4. It's an Audi.
Just hanging there with
German.
rope lights.
Yeah. It's German. It can fly. It can do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, this is ridiculous. Like, why on earth would someone want to do that? And but it's fascinating. It's absolutely interesting. Yeah, it catches your eye.
I know what's going on. Maybe there.
Tell me about
it. There's a rationale behind this. So I was. When I was working still here in Greece, I was traveling a lot. So, if you go to the Greek, let's say, rural areas, like out of the big cities, you can see really crazy stuff. So I was driving one day, it was like daylight, and I'm passing through this point. And I see like this car hanging. I said, okay, what the fuck is going on here? Like, and I stop and I try to understand what's going on. And I observe that like 300, 400, like 200 meters before that, I crossed something like a car maintenance, like a mechanic store. I don't know how you call it, a garage, huh? And I made the assumption that okay, this might be, let's say, like a guerrilla marketing for this garage. So I drive back and I say, "Is that yours?" Yeah, it's mine. Do you like it? Yeah, it's really cool. And I said, "I see some LED lights. Do you turn them on?" I said, "Yeah, not always," but I said, "Okay, look, I'm going to do a job. I have like I was doing a workshop." I said, "Look, I will turn back to my base around 9:00 in the night. Can you please turn the lights on for me?" I said, "Ah, yes, no problem." Okay, so when I was from my return, I stopped there. Indeed, the guy remembered and turned the LED lights on. And also, accidentally, it was very rainy. And I got this beautiful shot. And what I really love is the documents. If you magnify the photos, you see that there are documents and folders on the back window, above the boot space, also the LED light somehow it's framing them. I love this kind of details, So that's the story of this photo. But what I think that also says a lot about my process. I'm very persistent.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lay down and say, "Oh, okay, that's it. I had this," because maybe some other also people got shot this car. what I'm doing, I really persist and I try to control what I can really control, like the light and the conditions. Of course, I cannot control the rain, but I control if it's going to be dark or if it's going to be daylight. So, I was persistent. I talked to the guy. I convinced him to turn on the lights. I was waiting to go dark, and I was waiting also the right moment because it was really heavy rainfall. So it was, let's say, too much. So I was waiting like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I got the shot I wanted and went back home happy. And I couldn't sleep for one more night thinking about the photo.
Yeah. I think you did it's like a masterful job of kind of interpreting your world the way you saw it in the moment. And I think the backstory of what you were dealing with, the whole story is interesting, and it makes it really pop out as a series for you. And I know I enjoyed it just from a aesthetic kind of perspective with a little bit of information, but getting that whole like backstory is incredible. So how do you see this? Did you turn this into a book?
Okay. Look, I could say that I almost burned this project. I buried it.
What?
I don't know why. No. Yeah.
It's absurd. Know, it's another absurdity. Yeah.
yeah. I think so. So the truth is that now I'm quite, I'm very committed on the publication of my most recent project that we will see next. But I see that people love this project, and the truth is that it went in a few really good international festivals this year without doing anything. They were just asking for this project. Went for the Biennale in Korea, Athens Photo Festival, in Benaki Museum, in I don't know, like in some really good international festivals. I even started a collaboration with the State Opera of Berlin because of this project. But, for now it's parked. And I think, maybe I did a mistake, as it was observed that I buried it very quickly. Maybe a critical factor is that when I was, I decided to launch it, after a while, COVID came and somehow the dynamic of the festivals and this, declined. And I was also really deep into the project. I started shooting 2017. So I didn't have the energy, I think, to promote it and, pursue.
The
promo of this project. But I have started thinking again, maybe I will do something like this in the future. But not
well, it's going to be in this podcast. It's going to be in this podcast, so I think people are going to get a chance to see it, and so it might have new legs for you, and so. But even at that, it's it speaks to you, who you are, and what you think about, and how you shoot, and I think it's a wonderful addition to kind of talk about your visual language and how you use photography. Let's take a look at your next series, We'll finish up with that one.
Yeah. So I would say that this is the most personal project so far in my this photographic journey. It's called Strawberry Blue. The driver behind this project is everything started when I eventually decided to abandon Greece around 2017, and I moved to the developed Northern Europe. I went to the Netherlands.
You say abandoned, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping on that word, but why? That's a strong word. Why do you
Yeah,
say
it's a very
abandoned?
strong statement. Yeah,
It
because
is. Yeah, and I'm kind of curious.
yeah.
Was it
Look,
hard?
I, it was extremely hard, and
Yeah.
I'm saying abandoned because I had, in contrary to other people that moved to a foreign country, I think almost 1 million people of my generation left Greece the last decade because of the financial crisis. Most of them well educated people in a very productive age. So I really, resisted. I tried to make things work here, and I'm saying abandon because I had a smooth life here. I have with my wife. We had a nice house. Both of us had a good job. It's not that we were unemployed or that we couldn't survive. But yeah, it was a really tough decision because we said, okay, enough is enough. We tried.
Yeah.
We resist. I think we were like one of the last batches of people left the country. Like at the very end, when, let's say, things started changing, we decided to make this transition and go abroad for a better life. Now, what's a better life? I don't know. That's another strong statement. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, we are like, I would say, luxury immigrants. Okay, we have like a good job there. I moved for a better career opportunity, and but things. It's not that things were also smooth there, because
Yeah.
I stopped belonging
Yeah.
in Greece. Okay, and also I didn't belong there in this new place. So where do I belong? That was so I was looking for my like a new identity, and I had like a very strong feeling for I wanted to feel that I belong somewhere again. I started shooting this project 2018. I finalized it this year. I'm working on this for publication. Yeah, it's also a very nice and very cool and respected independent publishing house. Overlaps in London in collaboration with Miska Athens and Silvia Sahini, who is the founder there. So yeah, everything started when I moved back. When I moved from Greece to the Netherlands, and let's say that I got off. I had a bad start there. Things didn't go well in the very beginning, because a few months after we moved there, I was riding my bicycle to go to my job, and I was hit by a car. It was like a hit and run. So I was injured in my head and my right hand. I had 3 surgeries in total in my right hand. And in the meantime, my wife was pregnant, and we lost the baby right after this incident of my accident, and that really, sucked both of us and sucked me, personally, and it really made me, doubt about, my life decisions and what am I doing here, and is it the right place to be, and this made even stronger the eagerness to belong somewhere, to feel that I integrate with the people, that to set up a new routine. So for doing that, I found another way, again, the way out of photography, and for almost 5 years, almost every day, literally, I was visiting I was strolling. I had strolls in the park, like 5 minutes for the house. I used to live in the Netherlands. By the way, I live in Eindhoven, not in hipster Amsterdam, or I live in Eindhoven, which is a small city with an industrial background and labor class. Like it's a very special society, I would say, a special community.
Did you speak Dutch when you went? Did you speak Dutch when you moved? No,
not even now. Not even now.
Yeah.
I can just read what comes from the tax authorities. That's
the important ones. You're like,
I can read my payslip.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So the thing is that I started visiting the park almost 5 years, almost every day, strolling around, photographing the people, the place, the animals, the findings, the objects, talking with the people, sharing experiences, giving them names, because I couldn't, I couldn't remember all the names. I was just giving them, assigning them nicknames based on the, scars of their bodies, their tattoos, similarities to famous people. Like, for example, I had Elvis, Blixie Blixen, which is like the whitey white in Dutch, the Rotten Bite, the Rat Beaten, Batman, like this kind of nicknames. So I cannot recall their names, So because I met many people, and I just photographing them, discussing with them. I found also, many similarities with my own stories, because not all of them were like originally from the Netherlands, Some of them were also like from places like Turkey or Bosnia, or, like refugees, actually, war refugees. Huh? So, and this project, actually, this photographic journey helped me a lot to start building a routine and start feeling I belong somewhere again. And actually, it's claiming back, it's like a pursuit of the sweetness of life. Because life there started in a bitter way, as I told you in the beginning, and I really wanted to make things work. So it's a journey about killing my memory.
So strawberries are not blue, obviously, and so I'm curious why you made this connection. And I'm noticing an editorial choice in these images.
I will leave it here with the dog. Huh?
Okay.
So, first of all, if you ask me which one is the dominant color in this series, I would tell you that the color is the shadow. So I think that the palette balances between something like magenta and blue, but of course the title doesn't originate from this. So strawberry, for me, symbolizes what I told you about the pursuit of the sweetness of life, as is also symbolized in the film of Ingmar Bergman, Wild Strawberries. So I borrowed this element from these movies because I wanted to give like a sweet taste and an optimistic side of things. So let's say that the strawberry, with this vivid red color and also the sweetness symbolizes, the eagerness for life, huh? How sweet life can be. Blue is because, okay, from what I described already, there's also a blue side of things. Historically, why we say I have like Blue Monday or I have my blue, it's, I know it's not pleasant, but it's because, when this expression, this phrase is borrowed, actually sourced when someone has passes away. Okay, the skin usually turns something like blue. So people, relatives and family, that they're, suddenly they become, they become sad, and they feel the grief. Okay, we say that I turned blue. So I borrowed blue to symbolize also my general mood all these years. So
Wow.
that is all about. It's a combination of emotions, I would say.
It's
And it's also, I think, very nice to make it a picture in your. I always like this a picture like strawberry blue. Sounds looks nice.
It's a conundrum. It's one of those things that's another metaphor all in itself. Talk to me about the portraits. Are these people you're meeting along your walks, and
Yep.
you're just like, you're interesting. I need a photo. Yeah.
Look, that was
they're not looking at the camera very often. They're often looking away. It's an interesting choice. Well, it's an interesting choice to use these in the edit. And so, what is this kind of symbolizing how you felt? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Usually, I directed them. I want them to stand in front of my lens, and also, in the editing, in the post-photographic process, I was choosing the photos that they have this kind of feeling. Of course, there are also some other portraits that they are not here, but they look also straight into my lens. But I think that's a very good observation. I really wanted to capture the emotional state rather than, the physical state, So I think the body language here is stronger than the gaze or... somehow this is intent. It's intentionally. But that's a very good.
And I'm also noticing.
I didn't notice, to be honest.
I noticed it almost instantly. The other thing I noticed too is that you're actually getting people in the series now, and so you're going to expound on my observation, but then kind of jump into. Now we're no longer in place, but now we're seeing a lot more people, and kind of talk to me about that.
Yeah. I think that's another interesting thing about this work, because in contrary to all my other works, not only the two we presented, but also the other ones. Yeah, in this one there are people, huh? I would say there are creatures. Not only people, but also animal, living creatures. So, as I told you, for me, it's very important in my work to evolve, to progress. It would be very easy to me, believe me, to go to the Netherlands and do another paradising. I can get my car and go to the North Sea, to the coast and make another paradise. But I think it will be a success. I'm sure about that. But this is not for me what I'm looking for. So I was trying to challenge myself and do different things. Of course, always, respecting my language and the way I should. I think either in Paradising or in Wildwood Chase or in Strawberry Blue, you can see myself, you can see Marinos in those works. You cannot. I don't think you can say it's a different photographer behind the camera. But the portrait started as a personal challenge. I said, okay, in the landscape photography, let's say, okay, I have somehow mastered it. I think I feel very, very comfortable. I know how to do it. And I have, let's say, a handicap on approaching people and, of course, photographing them. I didn't even know how to talk to them, what to say to them, how to deal with this awkward situation, like having an unknown person and the guy with a monstrous, awkward camera, sometimes with a tripod, and I said, okay, I need to do this. I need to challenge myself. I need to try, and I need also, as I did the landscapes, I think I can do also equally good portraits. Good, interesting at least. Because I have tried in the past and it was not successful. It was one of my, let's say, weaknesses as a photographer. I couldn't photograph people. So I started going to the park. In the beginning, I was very conservative. I didn't want to go. I was mostly observing. It passed many months until I dared to propose the first portrait to one of them. And I saw, that first of all, it helped that they were not very negative. It was not, of course, easy to break the ice. But what I was doing, I approached them in a very honest and humble way. I didn't lie to them. Look, I'm a guy which, I'm strolling around the park. I think you have seen me several times, I want to photograph the park and the people because that makes me feel comfortable. And I want to, let's say this is my own weird thing. Huh?
Well, it goes back to this practice for you is a personal thing. It's not about, being a full-time artist and trying that pressure of putting together projects. This is you. And that's I think what I like about it, and I'm not surprised you're starting to find people in your images. As one of those people who has left where they came from and came somewhere else, one of the hardest things to do is to, number one, pick up the language, and then people are all different. And they come from different places, different experiences, and whereas you can kind of integrate in where you're from into to the people and the community, and so your surroundings are more important. Now it seems like you're on the outside of people, now for the first time, the community, and kind of finding your way back into it. And I feel that there, and I connect to it a lot because I share the same thing. I share the same thing. And so it's a fascinating thing, and I might be looking too far into it, but that's what I got out of it, and especially when I heard your explanation. So I have about 10 more minutes with you. So.
I think you're once more to the point. Just one I think one comment about this thing about the portraits. Because, it's important also to try to be useful for our audience. Eventually, I ended up with 40, 50 very strong portraits. And Then I said, okay, what am I doing now? Okay, I have very strong portraits, but I have no narrative. I didn't have any storytelling.
Yeah.
And then the hard part was to try to, start recreating, this universe of the park and the details and the animals. So I fall into the trap, that I felt really confident with the portraits. So I was shooting portraits. And then I said, okay, what am I doing here? Now I have good portraits, but I don't have a narrative. So, and then I needed to start working on the landscape, the details and the park. And,
bringing it all together. Yeah.
Exactly.
Telling the story almost cinematically, it goes back to that origin. I really enjoyed this. I just have a few more questions left, so we're gonna stop sharing. And so, I just have a few more questions. But this last one, this is going to be a book, and so you just showed us a few images. Talk to me about that? When are you done with that? When is that coming out? I'm curious.
That's a very good question.
Soon is
I hope so. I hope so soon.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Yeah, things after COVID, they have been very complex also for the publishing houses. It sounds very 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 flat, but the materials prices change all the time. There's a huge pipeline from COVID for the publishing houses. They have specific resources. So we try hard to wrap up the book very soon with the publishing house. I hope it will be, I don't know, like until summer will be out. But I don't know. It's just a wish. We will see, because we already work on almost like maybe 2 years on this. So the project evolved in the meantime more. But it's a very interesting journey, People for example, the founder of Overlaps, like Tiffany Jones, but also Sylvia Sapini, who's involved in the editing and sequencing process. And the concept, they can really, you see that they bring a lot of value on the table, great, brilliant ideas, and they push the boundaries of a work, and they reveal more and more layers, discussion, and you see that, you have something that you think, okay, it's just like few good photographs, but it's something more eventually. And sometimes,
that has to be exhilarating. That has to be really fun.
People with experience and a helicopter view usually helps a lot.
Yeah, of course. So just two more questions. Are you back in Greece? Are you living there now?
No, I'm here in Greece.
Are you just kind of going back and forth?
Because of Christmas vacation, I'm permanently in the Netherlands. Okay. But of course, roots are roots.
Yeah, they are. Good to go back.
So I'm having also an apartment here in Thessaloniki, and I'm trying to be here as more as I can. I have great friends here, especially most of them photographers or artists. I love discussing with them. I bring my work always printed in small envelopes, and I discuss with them. I take notes. So I love being here. It feels awesome. Yeah.
So this is the last question. It's the one I ask everyone, and it's an easy one. Some people think it's hard. But a lot of my audience are artists. They're photographers themselves. They're image makers, and they're trying to make their way. And I'm curious if you have any advice for people that are trying to do it themselves.
Okay, I think that's a tough one, huh? Because it's a tough one because
some people, yeah.
No, I will explain why. I feel that sometimes I cannot even help myself. So I wonder many times because many people come and say, "Yeah, give me advice about this and that," and
Yeah.
it's. I think first of all, I think it's risky to give advice, but yeah, let's go for it. So one advice, I think I will talk from my personal, approach and process. My personal point of view, like take it easy, like make photography primarily for yourself. Don't get stressed or rush it, to push something out. And I'm not talking only about social media, but also, about the publication or festival. I think it's very important to give time to work, to digest it. Let the photos stay in a drawer, print them and put them in a drawer, take them out again and again, and so be very, let's say, confident and sure for what you show out there, Billions of photos are out there every single day. So please do not pollute more this world, at least this, let's say, fine art photography world with, let's say, works that they don't have many things to say. So that's one. I think there's a quality called abstinence. So you can hold yourself. Please hold yourself and first digest your work. If your work is good, it will be current in 3 months and in 2 years and in 5 years and maybe even in 30 years. Today morning, I watched, I think she's called Carla Williams, the winner of Paris Photo Book Award. Like she had her work in the drawer since the 80s, and she published it now. She won the Aperture Award. Bam. If the work is good, it's good. So do not rush it. That's one advice. The other advice is try to be, let's say, strict with yourself and try to disconnect emotionally from your photos. Because I strongly believe that especially in storytelling and narrative, there's always addition by subtraction, Try to be very selective on what you saw and be prepared to sacrifice photos for the sake of a better narrative or storytelling. Sometimes it's hard, I know. We love all our photos, and the last advice is do not follow any advice from other people. Just, that's it.
Well, you gave great advice. So it's like, you just do you is what you're getting to. Yeah.
Look, what works for me doesn't mean it works for other people,
It's not gonna. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time today. It was a wonderful conversation. Yeah, I had a great time looking through your work. So just thank you.
No, I thank you very much because I was stressed, to be honest. Honestly, I was really stressed. I was not well prepared, but I really enjoyed it.
You were,
and
thank
you so much for the time, both you and Steve. Also, Stereosis Photography School for hosting me today. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
well,
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much again, and it was awesome. And to everyone that's made it this far, thank you for joining us today on the Urbanaut. Please consider liking, sharing, and commenting down below if you like content like this. It helps us with the algorithm. And the other thing is, too, if you want to support content like this, please consider being a member on our patreon.com page. That is where you can support our program and keep us having conversations like this. So thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we'll see you next time.